From the Kiss 92.5 studios in Toronto, Canada. Are you ready? Ladies and gentlemen.
This is Roz and Mocha.
It's Roz and Mocha. What's going on?
Hey guys, this is Bruno Mars.
This is Selena Gomez.
The Chainsmokers.
Lady Gaga.
Calvin Harris.
Celestia Cara.
This is Ed Sheeran.
You're listening to my boys Roz and Mocha.
Roz and Mocha.
My boys Roz and Mocha.
The Roz and Mocha Show.
Between Roz and Mocha, who is your favorite?
Roz. Mocha. Roz. Mocha. You guys are so funny, man.
Congratulations, Lisa! Wow! You just won $1,000.
That's amazing. Y'all just made my entire morning. Keep it up.
You guys are awesome, man. This is the Roz and Mocha Show podcast.
Okay, we are rolling.
Love it. So, what's the situation? Have we got questions?
Let me record an intro here.
Okay.
Hey, this is.
Sorry.
Oh my God! Stop fidgeting.
It's a chair.
This is Roz Weston, and I wrote a book called A Little Bit Broken. And if you are listening to this, then you signed up for the pre-sale incentive, which was promised a podcast, and the promised podcast was to explain some things and answer some questions that I had said that you guys will 100% have. This is all happening after the release of the video of the secret final chapter, where I proposed to my then girlfriend, Katherine Holland. And we hope that we're going to have a conversation today and sort of bring you guys through that entire process and how the hell did she not know? How did we keep it all a secret? All that stuff. So I would like to welcome to the podcast my fiance, Katherine Holland. Want to make sure that microphone is straight in front of your face, love?
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me? No?
Yeah. Just.
I don't want to muck it up.
No, you're not going to. This thing moves like this. Look, you can move this.
Hold on here.
There you go.
That looks better, right?
It's much better. Yeah.
Okay,
so
great.
how are you?
I'm good. Pause for 1 second. Can you hear
Yes.
when I drink coffee? Can you hear that?
Yeah, you don't drink coffee
Damn it.
during this. Yeah, of course we can. So I guess the big question that a lot of people have is, how are you feeling now that the secret is out?
Oh my gosh, finally.
Yeah.
It's so strange to have the most epic proposal ever and then wait 2 months to be able to tell anybody
3
about
months.
it. 3 months?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is 3 months,
Yeah.
eh? Honestly, it's a weird knee-jerk reaction to not talk about it. When people say, like, congrats, I'm like, yeah, shh, no,
Yeah.
don't tell anybody.
So we did, the proposal happened the end of June. And like I had said, I'd started writing this book 2 years ago, and I knew how it was going to end. I knew that it was going to end with a proposal. And the line that I wrote, when I said that I wrote it first, I didn't write the whole last chapter first, but the line that I wrote first was the line that said, when you choose the person you're spending the rest of your life with, you're also choosing the person who will tell your story when you're gone. And if you're lucky, you'll choose somebody who only sees the best in you. And then that was sort of it. That was the part that I wrote when I knew that it was going to be the proposal. And so I held on to that for almost 2 years, a year and a half during the writing process. And when I submitted the book to the publisher, I didn't give them they had no idea. The publisher had no idea that the last chapter was going to be a proposal until the day I submitted everything. And they were like, "What the hell is this?" Like it was crazy. And then it was a matter of keeping the publisher quiet because this is something that will get out. And so people were sworn to secrecy because now it became a game of everybody working to just make sure Katherine didn't find out because
Right.
I had booked the day, which was June 26th, I believe it was, when we were going to shoot the proposal. And so let's start with that day real quick. So you had no idea what was going on.
No. And also, first of all, I feel like for context, you need to tell people that the way you sold this day was, first of all, I was supposed to be leaving for Berlin that day.
Yeah.
And what all Roz said was, oh, actually, I have I have something like a sort of a family thing that I'm planning on us doing that day. It's not a big deal, but I put a little bit of work into it. So is it okay if you leave the next day? And I was like, oh yeah, wah, thinking nothing of it. I'm like, oh, what are we going to go boating or something? Like clearly something like this. Because Roz had just sort of wrapped up at ET, and I was like, okay, let's just go do something fun to celebrate. I'm guessing this is the situation. So yeah, that was the way this was sold to me. And then from there, Roz left the night before.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know where he was going. I think eventually he ended up telling me that he was heading to our cottage. And then I had absolutely no context for what was going on. And I thought, oh, whatever. I mean, Roz is super sweet and loves surprises. So I figured he was doing something cute, maybe setting something up at the cottage. And then the next morning, I received a text with just like super vague instructions. And then we had to start our day from there. Do you want to maybe tell them what you sent?
Yeah, no. So I sent Katherine and Roxy, our kid, a video that was just like, hey, be at this address at this specific time, and that was if you look at the video, that's the hotel where there was hair and makeup already set up for them.
And then it was text this number when you arrive.
Yeah, and it was the number of the on-site producer and the camera crew that was there, so they could shoot everything and wire them up with microphones, but they had no idea what was going on. And the important thing for me was when I hired the crew to shoot all this. So there was 3 camera, a director, there was like audio and a producer and hair, makeup, assistants, everything. When I hired everybody, I told every single one of them a different story of what was happening that day. So nobody knew what they were actually shooting, and nobody knew what they were actually hired to do, because they were all told a different lie. And one was just because I if it got out, it was not going to be the truth, and then I would know who the mole was, who the weak link was.
So sneaky! Oh my gosh!
But also, I didn't want people. If they started talking about what they were there for, it would have been very confusing because nobody had the full story of what it was.
And I feel so bad because it's all our friends as well.
Yeah, so
I'm sure
nobody
they were all
knew.
So confused.
Yeah, so nobody knew. Nobody on that day knew until I said, Katherine has no idea, but I'm proposing to her today. And that's when everybody was like, what the hell? Like on set, like just the crew and everything were like, oh my God. Okay, so a couple of questions. How did you not know that this was coming?
Who?
Yeah, you. Because I wrote the book.
Because we literally never talked about it.
No, true. And I think let's start there, because I think that's a part of the story in the final chapter, is that we never really discussed marriage. And why do you think that is?
I don't know. I think that we always sort of looked at it as if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, everything was just sort of going great. And I think that, I don't know. I'm definitely more of a private person than you are. And I don't know. I think that I've just never really felt like I needed that.
Yeah.
I never really was ever sort of, dreaming of my wedding. I think that nothing against weddings, obviously. I mean, I'm totally down to have one.
Yeah.
But it just was never sort of like that goal. I think for me, it was more about sort of, sustaining this relationship and making sure that everything was going great in the day-to-day. And I also sort of like in the unmarried period that you are actively still choosing each other every day.
Yeah.
I like that there's no sort of assumption, even though, I mean, the second you have a kid together, I mean, you're together forever.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the situation.
Yeah.
But I do sort of like that sort of, that almost like lingering where it's like every day is a choice and you got to really bring your A game today, man.
Yeah.
Well,
because I had said, one of the ways that I put it in the book was that, there was just no way to level up. Like when you're at that level of sort of love and, being parents together and, having the relationship that we do, it's like, where do you go from here? Like nothing else would seem any grander than the way that we already lived our lives together. And so it was never a topic of conversation because it was never a way to sort of, prove to each other anything. And like I had said, anything more would almost feel greedy. Like things were so good that anything more would almost feel greedy.
I totally agree. Although I will say that being proposed to.
Yes. Was it awesome?
It was great, obviously. Epic proposal. I don't know what I'm supposed to do to top that, clearly. I feel like it's going to take me 30 years to think of it. I'll get there.
Yeah.
But I will say getting engaged at this sort of stage of our relationship after 17 years is like really lovely because it does feel almost like a vow renewal.
Yeah.
Which I think is really, really nice because I think had we been married very early in our relationship, it's sort of you do grow into each other, right? And maybe you grow closer and maybe you grow further apart. And I really like with us that, I think we did only grow closer with time. And I think that especially after COVID and all the horrible stuff everybody has been going through for the past few years, it's really nice to be able to have that sort of, sense of validation and that like feeling chosen, I feel like is a lovely feeling, of course.
So just a couple of quick things that we can burn through real fast.
Tell me.
Why was there no ring in the video? Why was there no ring with the proposal? And my side of this is that, one, there was I had a fake ring there.
A lovely Amazon ring.
Yeah, that I was going to use, and it looked beautiful. But I couldn't go and ring shop for two different reasons. One, it would have got out. Somebody would have seen me doing this, who works at a store, would have been some super fan of the show. It would have got out. But also, I don't want to be the one that picks Katherine's ring. Your tastes are very specific. And when it came to using a fake one in the video, I had a fake one, and it was giant. And if you then turn around after the fact and the ring you choose is smaller than that one, I look like the guy who was flexing for the video, and then the actual ring that I got you was super cheap. So that ring, there was a fake ring, which is still in a box in the drawer where we shot the footage. But were you let down in any way because there was no ring?
I honestly didn't even think about it. Like, I already wear my nan's wedding ring, and they were together for over 65 years, and I love being able to wear her ring. So I honestly really didn't even think about it.
Right.
And then after the fact, people always go like, oh my gosh, let me see the ring. And I was like, oh wait, right, that's the thing. I guess I should get thinking on that. So yeah, I don't know. I've never really Googled wedding rings before. I don't really have any wedding ring aesthetics, so I guess I got some work to do in that, department. But I would have been grateful for anything.
I think I know that about you. I know that about you. But I think that your tastes are so specific that you need to be 100% involved. Because there was a period at the very, very beginning of all of this, when I started planning all of this, I had one thought where I was like, God damn, what if I just got an entire wedding together and I flew in your family.
Oh my God.
And I had all these surprises and everything. And there was just no way to contain that. But that's the same sort of thing, because when we had a conversation on that day after the proposal happened, where you were like, hey, I'm sort of glad that this wasn't like a wedding, because I want to be a part of that. I want to plan that.
Yeah.
And I realized that, yes, of course, I wouldn't have done that, but although I did think about it for about a week and a half, that it might have been cool. But a ring is sort of the same way. Like the proposal was my proposal to you, right? Mm-hmm. So I felt that it was okay that I had that much control over it. But the ring is the sort of same thing about the wedding, which is I just wouldn't do that without you. Like I wouldn't go and buy a ring without you. To me, that seems weird. Maybe some people do it. I wouldn't do that. I think it's weird.
I don't know. I mean, whatever. It's a fun thing we can do together.
But I think that it's your tastes too, right? Like I want to make sure it would mean more to me if you got something that really hit you, both aesthetically and, just your own personal style and taste. Like it's,
sure. I totally hear you. Very much appreciate that. But as I said, honestly, anything from you is lovely. Yeah. I would have been grateful for anything. Do not need it, but we'll figure it out.
Are you going to change your last name? That was another big question.
I don't know. I mean, I feel
my vote is no.
I mean, I've been Katherine Holland forever.
Yeah.
I mean,
my vote is no. My vote, if I get a vote in your name, which let's go back to let's just for 1 second say that it's 1840, right, where I have control over your name. No.
First of all, Roz, are you going to become Roz Holland?
No, I don't think anybody should change. I'm not like I to me, like you are. To me, you're Katherine Holland, right?
Yes.
Like
I feel
you're
like
not.
I would consider adding a Weston being a Holland Weston, but then I think that just makes it so complicated for writing on things and whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Like and if people think that I'm going to be in any way, upset or bent or whatever, that you wouldn't, I would be happier if you didn't change your name.
Fair.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm all in support of shorter names.
Okay. Well,
in general.
Good. What are some of the other questions that people had? Hold on here.
Do
you have a dress yet?
No.
Do you have a dress yet?
I do not have a dress.
Do we have a date yet?
No.
Do we have a location yet?
No.
Do we have a guest list yet?
I do. I do have that.
You do?
I keep a running one because when people reach out and because I have such a terrible memory, I like to write them down when I think of them to be like, oh my goodness, by the way, of course this person has to be there. Do not forget.
Right.
So I have sort of a running a running list of that. But that said, I feel we should keep our wedding very small. I feel that is very us, to be honest.
So I want to end off on that day, the proposal day. As you were reading the last chapter, the beginning part of that last chapter, where you were sort of dedicated to go to that one specific part of the book.
Yep.
Did you have any idea what was coming up?
I suspected once you handed me a bouquet or had Roxy send me a bouquet, I was like, there's clearly something happening here.
Yeah.
But I didn't really still understand, especially because when I sat down and I started like speed reading this chapter, oh my goodness, it's so painful for me to go back and watch myself read this because I'm clearly in a state of panic.
Sure.
I'm like,
Trauma.
what is happening?
Yeah.
So yes, I'm literally like firing through this. So it took me a minute to get there. So I think initially when I started reading, I thought this is way too long to be a proposal because I did like a skim through the pages first to see how long this whole thing was going to be. And I was like, there's no way. I was like, this has to be something else. I was like, I just want to know. Just tell me what it is.
So we'll finish on this story, which is a story that I haven't told anywhere or anyone yet. But that book that we use in the proposal video
gosh, I know what story you're going to tell.
Was a manufactured book, right? Because my books weren't ready yet. Parts of it were, but not the whole thing. So that was a slightly different cover. And what happened is that those pages from the final version of the book, the typeset was different, and they were still sort of test pages, right? And so they were sending me everything so I can sort of build this book myself for the purposes of the video. Take the pages, glue them into this sort of dummy book, put a cover on it, everything else.
Oh, I know.
And we had kept this secret going. I kept the secret going for almost 2 years, and then everybody at the publishing place at Doubleday, they kept it going for, I think it was a total of like 6 months at that point, 5 months at that point. And we only had a couple of days left. This was on a Friday or Thursday, and we were shooting this on the Sunday. So it was a couple of days until the video shoot day. And the publisher sent me the cover and those pages, the proposal pages, to the house in an envelope. And Katherine, who has never opened my mail ever. It was delivered to the house. She opened it, laid it all out on the counter for me, the cover and the proposal pages, flipped through the pages, took a picture of it, and sent it to me while I was at work.
Literally, without even reading, I just thought, oh, these are just like some samples that you were sent. I was like, oh, I'll let him know. I'm sure he's probably super excited to see these samples.
And
so I didn't even think to look at it because I was like, I've already read this book. I know what the situation is. So I thought it was like a font sample or a whatever. I was like, I don't even know what this is. Whatever. Here you go. Just in case you were expecting something, it's arrived. Sent it over.
And I died. And I rushed home. I left work early. I didn't do the last show that I had to do that day. And I raced home. Took me about 20 minutes to get there. And I ran in the house. And I didn't say anything. But what I did was I walked into Katherine's office and I just looked at her. And what I was looking for was to see if she had been crying.
Oh.
Right? And I knew that you looked at me, you turned around and you were like, hey, babe, like you normally do when I get home. And you leaned back, tilted your head back for a kiss. And then I kissed you. And I was like, okay.
You're like,
and I was like,
anything.
I was like, where's that stuff? And then it was out in the kitchen, and everything was right there. And the proposal chapter, start to finish, the entire thing was sitting open on the kitchen island with a paper clip attached to it for hours. For hours. It was just there with no cover, no envelope, no nothing. It was sitting out in the open for hours. And then I grabbed everything and I put it back in a big envelope and I went and put it in my truck. So it never even came back into the house after that point. Oh my
God, so funny.
So that's how close all of this came to getting blown.
I feel like you could have left it on the counter for days and I still wouldn't have known.
No, you're right. No, you're right. You're right.
Listen, I mind my beeswax.
Yeah. So I hope that answers the questions, and I hope that nobody, like I said, spoiling this book was part of the plan, all along. And I don't think it ruins the book experience. I only think that it adds to the book experience because I'm not somebody that likes loose ends. And the book, the way that it exists now, is sort of a cliffhanger in that one sort of way. And I think that the story needed to be finished. That chapter needed to be finished. And in order to finish that part of the story in that chapter, you needed to know that Katherine said yes. And so I thank all of you, everybody who what?
What if I had said no?
Well, geez, what would you have said?
Oh man, this book would have taken a turn.
Yeah, it really would have. My life would have taken a turn, to be honest with you.
I feel like, no, honestly, I feel like we're good.
Yeah, this podcast would have sounded a whole lot different. Right?
That said, before you close this off, because I know you're keen to wrap this up, I will say...
Well, don't make it sound like that, like I don't want to talk to people. I just think that we've talked about everything, but go ahead.
There's a length issue we got to consider here.
Okay, go ahead.
I will say, Roz, love you so much.
Love you.
And I feel like you are not given nearly enough credit for being as brave as you are in general. And I feel like this proposal is certainly one giant example of that. But I would say, even just in everyday life, I would say hosting a radio show, you have to be very brave to do that nowadays, you know, being emotionally vulnerable, putting yourself on the line, not only on the radio show, but clearly through your book. I mean, I think that's something most people would not be capable of doing, given, the level of intimacy and stories and detail that's in there. And then, I think topping it off with this proposal in such a, public but also private way is something that, I would not be capable of doing. And I do feel that the older I get, the more I recognize that bravery is truly one of the most important things in life. And it is truly one of the most defining things about someone. And it's the thing that takes you from the life you want, or the life you want to, living the life you want, like from not living it to living it. Congrats, baby.
Well,
I know it's hard, but
that's incredible.
You inspire everybody. Bravery is really tough, but I think it's also a muscle you keep practicing, and I think you just keep pushing it further and further.
That was beautiful. Thank you. I love you so much.
Love you so much.
I'm delighted that you are my fiance.
Oh, fiance.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody who has ever spent even 1 second of your life with anything that I've ever done on the radio show or the TV shows, or the amount of time you're going to spend either listening to this book or reading the book. I appreciate you, all of you, and you are all wonderful.
Let's make him cry.
No, I'm not going to cry.
Let's make him cry.
I've cried so much already. I don't think I have any tears left in me right now.
Cry.
You're the worst.
Cry.
You are the absolute worst.
Cry.
Who does that? Who does that? Like,
obviously
that's
me.
the worst. Anyway, thank you all so very much. Maybe we'll do this again, and I'll do another one of these with Katherine to sort of maybe go through, because I think that there's a lot of stuff in the book that you also didn't know about that was a shock to you, and I think that you learned a lot about me during the process of this book. So maybe we'll come back and do it if people want it. We'll do another one of these. But until then, thank you all so much. Tons of love, and
you the best.
Righto. How'd you feel about that? Good?
I mean, it seemed fine.
How
How'd you feel about it?
Good?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
How do you think I sounded?
I think you sounded great.
Okay, good.
Fucking awesome.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
Thanks for listening to the Roz and Mocha Show podcast.
Catch the guys live
Weekday mornings from 6 to 10.
on Kiss 92.5
Kiss925.com.
or download the Kiss 92.5 app.